How fare you, merchant?
Sufficiently well, thank you, Alexander.
Alexander rests his feet for a moment. Alexander picks up and leafs idly through a book called The Changing Role of Court Entertainers Through the Ages. Well, that was refreshing. Alexander is not interested in those self-help books. Thinking of Cosima, Alexander decides to leaf through one of the volumes of love poetry. He reads, "Thy hair, thy lips, thy beauteous face, and all thy studied female grace have won for thee anon a place within this broken breast." Not bad. And another. "Upon the shore the lilies bend, untouched by worldly care, where shadow they her earthly bed, oh, that she were not there." Yikes. And another. "What was it when I looked at you? What power has chained me through and through, and binds my heart with links so tight I cannot live without the sight of you? What nameless thing has captured me, and made me powerless to flee? What thing is it without a name, that brings my mind e'er back the same to thee? The name of love cannot apply, its commonness does not decry the haunted, hunted, painful cry that my heart makes for you, that e'er my soul eternal makes for you."
A little close to home, that one.
Alexander returns the love poem book to the shelf. Alexander picks up the fallen page. It's the love poem he particularly liked. It must have fallen out of the poetry book.
I see that old volume has lost another page. You may keep it if you like, sir. I have glued the stubborn thing back in place 2 times already.
I do rather like it. Thank you, merchant.
Alexander picks up the book from the small table.
Oh, yes, please, take that book. You have my most humble thanks for doing so, good sir.
Really? Thanks.
There's a young girl in the yard. The girl is dressed in a long, plain orange robe with a thick headdress. From the appearance of her clothes, and from a skittish, fearful look about her, Alexander gets the strong impression that she is a servant, or even worse, a slave. The serving girl appears to be stealing a quiet moment tending the rose bushes. Red roses beautifully cover the top of the house's fence and gate arbor. The house is made of stucco in an architectural style native to the island. It is apparently quite old, since climbing vines embrace its exterior. Palm trees, as graceful as gazelles, wave in the warm tropical breeze. The towering mountains of a distant island are appealing to Alexander's eyes.
I've told you 1,000,000 times, those flowers are too sweet for the likes of you. You've still got to do the breakfast dishes, make lunch, and clean the stables yet this morning. And get your veil back on. No one wants to look at your face.
Yes, stepmother.
Hey, stranger, come join me. The water is wonderful, and I can show you the way to the next island.
The waters in this cove appear calm, but there's a dimpling pattern to the surface which indicates an undertow. A young boy is happily swimming in the sea off the docks.
Good day. I'm Alexander. What are you doing in the sea?
What does it look like I'm doing? I'm swimming. I mean, Come join me. The water's wonderful. I can show you the way to the next island. Come on, jump in. A little water won't hurt you. Come join me if you're brave enough.
Considering the poor condition of the shore, it looks like the easiest way to get into the water is just to jump off the pier. The powerful currents grab Alexander. Struggle as he might, he feels himself being pulled out to sea.
Not a very good swimmer, are you?
Help me!
Sorry, I think not.
As his head submerges for the third time, Alexander finds himself pondering the wisdom of going out on a limb for a stranger.
Tickets up. Next.
Alexander couldn't handle those currents. That boy must be an unbelievably strong swimmer. A worn wooden vessel has been dry docked on a jetty. The boat is in sad shape. A hole in the hull and the condition of its boards make it obvious that the vessel is no longer seaworthy.
What are you waiting for? I said I'd show you how to get to the next island, didn't I?
That's strange. The young boy in the water just disappeared. Oh well, perhaps he just dove under the water.
Yeah, what do you want?
Excuse me. My name is Alexander. The owner of the bookshop in the village told me you might be able to help me. I hear you used to run this ferry for the islands. I'd like to talk to you if you have a moment.
You say old Allie sent you? I can't see why. The ferry's not running, you know.
I understand. I'd just like to talk to you about the islands if you don't mind.
Well, I guess it'd be all right if Allie sent you. Well, don't just stand there. Come on inside. What is it you wanted to talk about, young man?
The ferryman is a disgruntled-looking man who is probably a lot younger than he appears. Despite his tired air, he watches Alexander patiently. Alexander is sitting inside the ferry's cabin. The place displays the neatness of a seaman and the sparseness of a bachelor. There are few frills and comforts in the rough wooden environment, but the sunlight shines cheerily on the oaken beams, and the portholes admit a pleasant breeze. Several oil lamps are strategically placed around the boat's cabin to illuminate the island's dark nights. A table is positioned in front of two plain wooden chairs. The table consists of a board placed over a small barrel. There's a rabbit's foot on the table.
I'm a visitor to these islands. I'd like to learn what I can about the area.
So you said outside. What is it you want to know?
Well, for one thing, why has the island's only ferry been dry docked?
Huh. It just ain't safe to sail these days. What with the islands feuding and all. Wazir Al-Hazred ordered the ferry closed till things settled down. Me, I don't think she'll ever see water again.
But why are the islands feuding?
You got me. Something about stolen property or some such thing. 'Tis a real shame. Things used to be so friendly.
Then this unrest is recent.
A few years is all, but it's been long enough.
Perhaps if the ferry were repaired.
This old thing? This ferry's been out of water so long she's no longer even seaworthy. Her boards have dry rot. She'd fall apart at the first taste of seawater.
But there must be some way to get off this island.
There's only one other way to travel that I know of. A magic map. The owner of the pawn shop can tell you more about that than I can, Alexander.
Tell me more about the ferry.
I remember when I used to ferry Queen Ilaria and Princess Cassima themselves. There was no thought of danger back then. They used to go visiting to care for the needy and to keep up the friendly relations between the islands. I remember their last trip. Things had started getting nasty by then, and when they came back aboard, I gathered that the Queen and the Princess had been received a bit coldly. Princess Cassima was such a pretty thing, and she was terribly upset. But who could be spreading these lies, she asked the Queen, but the Queen had no answer.
What do you do now that the ferry no longer operates?
Me? I'm out of a job. The job my ancestors have held for generations. I'm the only one trained to avoid the reef and the rocks. But that knowledge does me no good now.
Is there no other boat on the island? One that might be more seaworthy?
Boats don't last long on these shoals, as you may have found out if you got here by ship. You can be quite sure that this old ferry is, or was, the only craft on the island.
Tell me more about Princess Cassima.
Ah, such a beautiful child, and so pure of heart. Why, a contrary thought has never crossed her mind. Her mother was the same. The king and queen, they served the islands, not the other way around, always thinking about the people. Ah, they are sorely missed.
What else can you tell me about the land?
Let's see. The Isle of Wonder's a lovely spot. A bit crazy, mind you. Gotta have a good sense of humor to enjoy a tour there.
What else can you tell me about the land?
The Isle of the Beast is pretty, but unfortunately, you can't get very far onto the island.
I see you have a rabbit's foot. Has it brought you much luck?
As you can see, my luck's been out for some time now, despite that old charm. Why don't you take it with you? Perhaps giving the darn thing away will bring me good fortune at last.
Perhaps it will at that. Thank you. Well, I think I'll be going now. Thanks for allowing me into your home.
Posh, not at all. It breaks the boredom, if you know what I mean.
Good day! The pawn shop is a dimly lit place with a slightly musty smell. Curiosities litter every corner and every shelf. For sale are articles that range from the bizarre to the commonplace, from the priceless to the practical. Towering mightily over the other pawn shop curiosities, the stuffed bear makes an ostentatious display. A mysterious old man also patronizes the pawn shop. He steals sidelong glances at Alexander from under his hood.
Good day, sir.
The old man just glares at Alexander and does not reply. The land of the Green Isles must have at least one inhabitant with interest in the mystical, for a crystal ball has been traded in along with the more common household goods. An old suit of armor stands in the pawn shop. It looks like a vigilant guard against thieves and carpet salesmen, even though it is headless. A tall skeleton lends an air of mystery to the shop. Several half-burnt wax candles have been placed among the other pawn shop items. They probably light the shop at night. A strange-looking winged device occupies one corner of the room. It is frail with disuse. Alexander finds it intriguing. Perhaps he thinks it was once used in a local sporting event, in which enthusiasts jumped from cliffs, glided on air currents, and then attempted to land, frequently crunching a bone or two in the process. Alexander shudders at the thought and decides to stick to dragon slaying. A horn, probably used for drink or powder, hangs from the ceiling. The pawn shop owner is a mysterious fellow. His face is old and inscrutable, and there's a glint of sheer iron in his gaze. Still, Alexander senses this is someone he can trust. The pawn shop is a dim light. An elegant little glass dish decorates the countertop. The dish is full of green mints offered for the enjoyment of the customer. Alexander takes a mint.
Excuse me, merchant, but the ferryman mentioned that you might have a magic map of the land of the Green Isles.
Why, as a matter of fact, I do. I keep it under the counter. It's been gathering dust so long that I nearly forgot about it. It was quite a few years ago, you see. The estate of a wealthy wizard fell into my hands when he died. It was useless magical junk mostly, which reminds me, I've still got some things of his in the back that I need to dump out. Anyway, the magic map was the one true treasure in the lot. The wizard was quite old and feeble and had enchanted the map to aid in traveling. It is said that one need only desire to be on an island depicted on the map to find oneself there. It is a very valuable map, as you can imagine. Unfortunately, no one is interested in traveling these days. It is far too dangerous with the current state of the kingdom.
What would you take for the map?
I would normally want something magic in return, but since I am hardly overrun with prospective buyers, I would be willing to take anything of equal value in exchange.
What would you take in exchange for the magic map?
If Alexander wants to exchange one of his possessions for an item in the pawn shop, he'll have to arrange it with the pawn shop owner first by showing him the object for trade.
Would you be willing to take my family ring in exchange for the magic map?
Daventry, are you a king then?
No, that's my father, King Graham. I'm just Alexander.
Well, Prince Alex, she is a beautiful ring. Are you sure you can part with such a unique family heirloom?
The ring does mean a lot to me. I didn't always have a family, you know. Still, it is only gold. There are more important things at stake now.
Then you now own a magic map, Prince Alex. I will keep your ring out of sight for a few days. If you find anything else of great value in your travels, you can come back for your ring. I would hate to see it melted down for gold. Ah, and a warning about the map. It will only operate when you are out in the open and within sight of the sea. The limitation has something to do with the teleport spell ingredients. You might try the beach.
Thank you. You are very kind, and I'll remember about the map.
Suddenly, the old man in the concealing cloak sneaks past Alexander, and with a sneaky dart of his hand, steals a mint from the candy jar. The old man stuffs the mint into his mouth and wobbles unsteadily out of the pawn shop.
Master! I followed Prince Alexander as you wished. From the pawn shop owner, he just abstained, just reprieved. He just got a magic map.
You fool! You've been eating those mints again. I ordered you to stop that!
Yes, Master.
Now, what is this about a magic map?
With a map, Prince Alexander can travel anywhere as quickly as I can. I thought I took care of the only means of travel. By my scimitar, I can't have him stirring things up now. Get a hold of yourself and listen carefully, Shamir. Go to the other islands and tell them...
I have this copper coin. Is it of any value to you at all?
Most interesting. I have never seen a Daventry coin before, but it is copper genuine enough. I might even find a buyer who is interested in foreign currency. The items on the front counter are the only things in the store that I can let go for the price of 1 copper. You may make your choice from there.
Alexander looks at the items on the counter to make his selection.
That mechanical nightingale looks intriguing. I believe I'll take it.
Very well. Your coin is well spent. Remember, this is a pawn shop. I am always willing to take back my own goods in trade.
I'll remember. Thank you.
Alexander sorts through the odds and ends that the pawn shop owner dumped into the pot. Magic exploding gum wrappers, a shattered crystal ball, a cracked wand, a fake thumb. Near the bottom, Alexander finds a little glass bottle labeled ink. It appears to be empty, but Alexander decides to take it anyway. You never know when a small bottle will come in handy. Alexander shakes the bottle and imagines he hears a faint swishing sound, but decides he is mistaken. Alexander decides to open the empty ink bottle.
It's stuck. It's... Whoa! The ink bottle isn't empty at all. It's full of invisible ink. Not very strong, but not bad.
Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. Alexander is standing on the small sandy cove of a rocky island. Around him, sheer granite cliffs block any further movement north, east, or west. To the south, he is blocked by the sea. There's an ugly flower growing near the base of the cliff. Alexander picks the flower and is startled by its hideously strong skunk-like odor. For a moment, he can smell nothing else. Alexander notices an unusually large, coal-black feather lying on the beach. Alexander takes the feather. There appears to be something etched into the face of the cliff. Alexander decides to get closer. Huge blocks of stone erupt from the granite cliffs. Alexander stares with wonder. That's quite a way to welcome a guest, if indeed it is a welcome. Alexander pulls out his magic map. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. The dirt path starts at the sea and winds its way off into a densely wooded forest. A pond lies across the path. The water boils as if over some magical flame. Alexander decides to brave the boiling pond. And soon realizes a deep sympathy for soup vegetables as he learns the true meaning of being in a stew.
Tickets up. Next.
It looks like Alexander's in a bit of a stew. Alexander feels a strange pulling sensation. Alexander is standing on a rocky beach. To the north is dense tropical vegetation. Near the shore are a dozen or so oyster beds. The blue ocean stretches on for as far as Alexander can see. A string of letters floats in the water. The letters spell out, "Where are you going?" Alexander's heard of alphabet soup, but this is ridiculous. One of the oysters is sitting up in bed and doesn't look very happy. He seems to be the only one who can't sleep. In the oyster's mouth, Alexander can see a glint of white. Alexander hears someone coming.
"5 fierce guards of the isle we be. Watch for a foreign man," said he, "with ears and nose, tongue, hands, and eyes. Its nature cannot be disguised. If man it be, then man it dies." Old Tantro, smell your smell. Do that which you do so well.
A gnome with a huge nose stands before Alexander. 4 gnomes stand waiting in line.
Alert, my brothers, as we feared, a man has landed here. A man, so Sailor knows, into the waiting sea he goes.
The gnomes toss Alexander too far out into the sea for him to get his footing. The currents drag him under.
Tickets up. Next.
Guess those gnomes couldn't reach a consensus. Alexander holds the flower of stench out to the gnome with the jumbo nose.
Tantro I am, that's all I'll be. My nose knows all on land and sea. A flower of stench has washed ashore. A flower 'tis all, and nothing Listen, hark you, Grovenor, do your duty as you swore. With your ears, please tell us more.
An odd-looking gnome stands before Alexander. He has incredibly huge ears. Alexander holds the...
My ears can hear nothing so clear as the sound of a man standing here. A man, so say our ears. We shall send him to his beer.
The gnome
Tickets up. Next.
Guess those gnomes couldn't reach... Alexander winds the tin nightingale and plays it for the gnome with the monumental ears.
A nose is not a way to spy. My ears cannot be told a lie. A nightingale is all there be. No man is near, and so say me. Taste, Grump, that we might know whether friend or whether foe.
Alexander holds the mint out for the gnome with the gigantic mouth.
Grump knows a tasty treat. It matters not what others bleat. No danger is this one so sweet. Trilly dilly, use your hands. Is it beast or is it man?
Alexander holds the rabbit foot out for the gnome with the huge hands.
Be all you mad? What aileth thee? A bunny can't trill merrily. A hare does not at all taste sweet. A rabbit here is all we greet. Old Bill Batter, never fatter. Vision can resolve this matter. Look you now and end this chatter.
Alexander pours the contents of the empty-looking ink bottle over himself.
By all that's beauteous, fair, and sightly, 4 morons do I sleep with nightly. There's nothing there at all, I say. Enough of this. Let's now away.
Alexander did it! He's fooled the guards!